Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this haunting question? When I'm lying on my deathbed, what will I regret the most? It's not a question we like to think about, but research has shown it matters more than we realize. According to a survey by the Hospice Foundation of America, the majority of people at the very end of their lives don't talk about money careers or material success. Instead, they confess to deep, personal regrets, the kind that make you wonder whether you've truly lived or just gone through the motions. And that's exactly what this video is about. We're not here to depress you, we're here to uncover the raw truths that only emerge when time is running out. Because these confessions carry a message, they reveal what truly matters when everything else is stripped away. As you listen, I invite you to reflect on your own life. Are you spending enough time with the people you love? Are you chasing dreams that stir your soul? Or are you putting it all off until someday, not someday, that might never come? Stay with me until the end of this video, because you'll be surprised at how many of these regrets are completely avoidable. In fact, once you see them clearly, you'll realize that you still have the power right now to choose a life you won't regret. So let's begin. These are the 10 most common regrets people confess on their deathbed, and the life-changing lessons they hold for you today. Let's begin with the most common and often the most heartbreaking regret: not spending enough time with family. Think about this. How many times have you told your parents, your spouse, or your children, "I'll make it next time," or "we'll do it later when things calm down"? But then the weeks turn into months and the months into years. And before you know it, those next times never actually come. In hospice conversations across the United States, especially among people over 50, this regret surfaces again and again. They don't wish they had worked more hours at the office. They don't wish they had bought a bigger house or a fancier car. What they mourn is missing the little moments that actually build a life, the family dinners, the laughter of kids in the living room, the quiet talks with a spouse at the end of a long day. Here's the truth. Once those moments are gone, they can't be rewound or replayed. A father can't go back and attend the school play he missed. A daughter can't return to the kitchen to help her mom cook one last meal. And when people are lying on their deathbeds, those memories, both the ones they made and the ones they missed, are what come flooding back. I want you to pause and ask yourself right now, when was the last time you truly gave your undivided attention to your loved ones, not scrolling on your phone while they're talking, not rushing through dinner because you're thinking about work, but really being present, looking into their eyes, and making them feel seen? Because here's something powerful. Research shows that people who invest in strong family bonds tend to live longer, healthier, and happier lives. Psychologists call it the power of connection. Families don't just give us love, they give us meaning. And meaning is what people crave most when their time is running short. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness. Many Americans are taught from a young age that productivity equals worth. But when you ask people at the end of their journey, they'll tell you that the true measure of a life well lived is the love you gave and received, not the hours you logged in an office. So if you're listening to this right now, consider this your wake-up call. Don't wait for someday to prioritize your family. Someday isn't guaranteed. Call your parents. Hug your kids tighter tonight. Sit down with your partner and listen to them without distractions. These small choices are the ones that protect you from this most painful regret later on. Because when you reach the end of your life, you won't be counting paychecks, you'll be counting memories. And the memories you'll cherish most are the ones you shared with the people you love. The second regret that comes up time and time again is this: working too much and missing out on life. In American culture, being a workaholic almost feels like a badge of honor. We live in a society that constantly tells us to hustle harder, climb higher, and never stop grinding. And while there's nothing wrong with ambition or providing for your family, here's the painful truth at the end of life. Very few people say, "I wish I had spent more hours at the office." Instead, they often whisper with sorrow, "I wish I hadn't worked so hard and missed the moments that truly mattered." Bronnie Ware, an Australian nurse who cared for hundreds of dying patients and later wrote the best-selling book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, highlighted this exact regret as one of the most universal. She wrote that men in particular confessed to working long hours and losing touch with their families, while women shared how career pressures distracted them from living fully. What struck her most was how consistent this theme was, no matter their background, career, or wealth. Think about it for a second. How many birthdays, anniversaries, or simple evenings at home get sacrificed on the altar of work? How many times have we told ourselves, "I'll slow down once I get that promotion," or "I'll spend more time with my family once the big project is done"? But the finish line keeps moving, and life keeps slipping away while we chase it. I want you to picture yourself years from now, sitting in a quiet room reflecting back on your life. Do you really want your proudest memory to be that you answered every email, or that you always hit your deadlines? Or would you rather remember the laughter of your children, the vacations you finally took, the dinners where everyone was present and alive in the moment? The challenge here is balance. Work will always demand more from us. Deadlines, bosses, clients, they don't stop. But our lives, they do. And when time runs out, nobody regrets leaving an unfinished email. They regret not being there for the people who mattered. So here's the question: are you living to work or working so that you can live? The difference may define whether you end up with peace or regret when your final day arrives. Take it from those who've been there. Don't let work steal the best years of your life. Prioritize time off. Protect your evenings. Say yes to the family trip. And remember, money and success can be rebuilt, but missed moments with the people you love are gone forever. Because at the end, your legacy won't be about how much you worked. It'll be about how deeply you lived. The third regret that many people confess at the very end of life is this: not expressing their true feelings. So many of us carry words in our hearts that never make it to our lips. "I love you," "I'm proud of you," or even a simple "I'm sorry." And when time runs out, people realize that those unsaid words weigh heavier than they ever imagined. Think about it. How often do we silence ourselves out of fear of rejection, fear of looking vulnerable, fear of causing conflict? Maybe you've held back from telling someone you love them because you weren't sure how they'd respond. Or maybe you've avoided apologizing because your pride got in the way. At the time, it feels easier to stay quiet. But at the end, silence becomes one of the deepest regrets. In hospice care, nurses share countless stories of patients who whispered through tears, "I wish I had told them how I really felt." Some longed to confess their love, others wished they had forgiven, and many simply regretted not speaking their truth. Their silence became a prison they couldn't escape, even as life slipped away. Here's the reality: unspoken words don't disappear, they echo inside us. They create distance in relationships and leave us wondering, what if? And when we finally run out of time, those what ifs become unbearable. So let me ask you this: who in your life needs to hear something from you today? A parent who's waiting for your gratitude? A friend who deserves your apology? A partner who longs to hear you say, "I love you," without hesitation? The truth is, vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. It's the bridge that turns ordinary relationships into bonds that outlast even death. And every time you choose honesty over silence, you write a story you won't regret later. So if you're watching this, take it as a sign. Send that text. Make that call. Speak those words. Don't wait until tomorrow, because tomorrow isn't promised. And when your final day comes, you'll be grateful that you lived with nothing left unsaid. The fourth regret is one of the most powerful and perhaps the most tragic: not living true to yourself. So many people, when they reach the end of their lives, realize they've spent decades living according to the expectations of others, society, family, friends, even strangers. They chose careers they didn't love to please their parents. They stayed silent about their passions because they feared judgment. They built a version of themselves that looked successful on the outside, but felt empty on the inside. Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychologist, spoke about this very conflict. He described the difference between the false self and the true self. The false self is the mask we wear to fit in, to meet expectations, to gain approval, to avoid criticism. The true self, on the other hand, is who we really are at our core, our authentic desires, our natural talents, the dreams that light us up from within. And here's the heartbreaking part: so many people never get to fully live as their true self. Imagine reaching the end of your journey and realizing you never pursued the life you truly wanted because you were too busy living someone else's version of your life. That realization becomes one of the deepest regrets of all. But here's the good news: you still have time. Right now you can ask yourself, am I living the life I want, or the life others expect of me? What would change if I stopped hiding behind the mask and started honoring who I really am? This isn't about being reckless or selfish. It's about alignment. When you live authentically, you bring more joy, energy, and even love to those around you. People don't need the perfect version of you, they need the real you. So if you're watching this, take a moment to reflect. What's one step you could take today to move closer to your true self? Maybe it's signing up for that art class you've been secretly longing for. Maybe it's speaking your truth in a relationship. Or maybe it's simply giving yourself permission to be different. Because at the end of your life, you won't regret disappointing others. You'll regret betraying yourself. And the greatest gift you can give the world is not a mask, but your authentic self. The fifth regret that so many people carry to their deathbed is this: not pursuing their dreams. When people look back, what haunts them most isn't the mistakes they made, it's the dreams they left behind. The book they never wrote. The business they never started. The places they always wanted to see but never visited. These unfulfilled passions sit like shadows in the corners of their memory, whispering, "What if you had tried?" We've all felt it. That spark of passion, that quiet voice urging us towards something bigger. Maybe it's painting, music, travel, or even a bold career change. But too often we push those dreams aside. We tell ourselves, "I don't have time," or "it's not practical," or "I'll get to it later." And then later never comes. One hospice nurse once said, "The saddest words I hear are not about failure, but about the things people never attempted." That's the difference. Failure can be healed, but regret lingers forever. Think about your own life right now. What dream have you been keeping on the shelf? What passion keeps tapping on your shoulder, but you've been ignoring because life feels too busy or too risky? Ask yourself honestly, would I rather fail trying or regret never trying at all? Here's something powerful to remember. Dreams don't have to be massive to matter. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow or move across the world. Sometimes it's about taking small steps, writing 1 page a day, signing up for that class, saving up for that trip. Each small step breathes life into a dream that otherwise would have died in silence. And the truth is, the clock is always ticking. If you don't make space for your dreams, nobody else will. At the end of your journey, you won't regret the times you tried and stumbled, you'll regret the chances you never took. So don't wait. Whatever your dream is, nurture it. Start today, even in the smallest way. Because when your final day comes, you won't be haunted by what if. Instead, you'll be able to say, at least I tried. At least I lived. The sixth regret that often comes up in the final chapters of life is this losing touch with friends. Friendship is one of those treasures we don't always realize the value of until it's gone. In our busy lives, it's easy to put friendships on the back burner while we focus on careers, raising families, or managing responsibilities. But when people reach the end of their lives, many confess to one painful truth: they let their closest friendships slip away. Research shows that after the age of 50, many Americans begin to feel the weight of this regret. Old friends drift apart, phone calls get fewer, meetups get postponed indefinitely, and before long, years pass without meaningful connection. Then, in the quiet of old age, people look back and wish they had made more effort to keep those bonds alive. Think about it for a moment. Who are the friends you once considered family? The ones who knew your secrets, who laughed with you until your stomach hurt, who stood by you in hard times. Are they still a part of your life? Or have you let them fade into the background? The truth is, friendships don't survive on memories alone. They require effort just like a marriage or career. A simple phone call, a message, or taking the time to meet for coffee can be the difference between keeping a lifelong bond alive and letting it wither away. Yet too often we convince ourselves we're too busy. And then, when it's too late, we realize the cost of that neglect. One hospice worker once shared a story of a patient who, near the end, whispered, "I wish I had reached out to my old friends. I thought about them often, but I never picked up the phone." That single choice to stay silent became one of his deepest regrets. But here's the hopeful part: you still have time. Friendships can be rekindled even after years of silence. People are often more open to reconnecting than we think. Sometimes all it takes is a message that says, "Hey, I was thinking about you today. How are you doing?" So let me ask you this: who in your life do you need to reach out to right now? A childhood friend you haven't spoken to in years, a college roommate who once felt like family, or maybe a neighbor who shared countless laughs but slipped out of your routine. Don't wait until it's too late. Rebuilding friendships is one of the most meaningful investments you can make, not just for them, but for yourself. Because at the end of your life, it won't be the business meetings or deadlines you'll remember. It will be the laughter, the inside jokes, and the love of good friends who walk the journey with you. The seventh regret people often confess on their deathbed is this: not taking better care of their health. When we're young, it's easy to take health for granted. We eat whatever we want, skip workouts, pull late nights, and assume our bodies will bounce back. But here's the reality: years of neglect add up. Poor eating habits, lack of exercise, constant stress, and ignoring medical checkups often lead to chronic illnesses later in life. And when people finally face those illnesses, many whisper the same heartbreaking words: "If only I had taken better care of myself." In the U.S., research shows that preventable lifestyle choices contribute to some of the most common causes of death, including heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. Yet in the rush of daily life, many ignore the basics: eating balanced meals, moving their bodies regularly, and making time for rest. The price: lost energy, diminished joy, and years of life cut short. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I'll start eating healthier next week," or "I'll exercise once things slow down"? But weeks turn into months, and before long, the damage is harder to undo. Patients nearing the end often regret not choosing simple, consistent habits that could have saved them years of pain. I want to ask you, what small step could you take today to honor your health? Could you replace one soda with a glass of water? Could you walk for 20 minutes instead of scrolling on your phone? These small choices matter more than we think because they compound over time. And here's the truth. Taking care of your body isn't just about living longer. It's about living better. It's about having the strength to play with your kids, the energy to chase your dreams, and the freedom to enjoy life without being tied down by illness. So don't wait until a doctor delivers bad news to start caring about your health. Your future self is begging you to act now. Because at the end of life, nobody regrets eating a little cleaner, exercising a little more, or making time for rest. But many do regret letting their health slip away until it was too late. The eighth regret that people often confess at the end of their lives is this: not forgiving or holding on to grudges for far too long. When you listen to people nearing their final days, you'll hear the same pain over and over again. It's not just about what happened to them, it's about what they chose to carry. The anger, the resentment, the bitterness they held on to for years didn't just hurt their relationships. It weighed down their hearts. And when life was almost over, many realized that the burden wasn't worth it. Think about it. How many of us replay old wounds in our minds? An argument with a sibling, a betrayal by a friend, a falling out with a partner. We carry that pain like armor, convincing ourselves it protects us. But in truth, it's more like chains holding us back from peace. And at the very end, when people look back, they don't feel stronger for holding on to grudges. They feel tired, heavy, and often deeply regretful. Psychologists have long noted that forgiveness is less about excusing the other person and more about freeing yourself. Studies even show that people who learn to forgive tend to have lower stress, healthier hearts, and longer lives. Forgiveness in many ways is medicine. Yet so many leave it undone, choosing to carry wounds that eventually became their heaviest regret. One hospice worker once shared the words of a patient who said, "I wasted 20 years not speaking to my brother. I thought I was proving a point, but in the end, I only punished myself." Imagine lying on your deathbed with that realization that time you could have spent laughing, connecting, or even healing was lost to pride. Let me ask you this: who in your life are you still holding a grudge against? Is the pain you're holding on to really worth the peace you're giving up? Sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean what happened was okay. It simply means you're choosing not to let the wound control the rest of your life. And here's a truth that people at the end often understand too. Late forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's the freedom to breathe again, to let go of the poison of resentment, and to move forward lighter. So if you're watching this right now, maybe this is your sign. Don't wait until your final days to let go of that weight. Free yourself today. Because at the end of your journey, you won't regret forgiving, you'll only regret the years you spent carrying anger that never served you. The ninth regret many people share at the end of their lives is this: not experiencing more. When people look back, they rarely regret the adventures they took, the risks they embraced, or the memories they created. What they regret is staying too long inside the comfort zone, always playing it safe, always waiting for the right time to travel, to try something new, or to simply live a little bolder. So many patients in hospice care admit, "I wish I had taken that trip. I wish I had learned that skill. I wish I had dared to step outside my routine." These missed opportunities leave behind a trail of what-ifs that feel heavier than failure itself. Because the truth is, we regret the chances we didn't take far more than the ones we did. Think about your own life right now. How many times have you postponed something you've always wanted to do? Maybe it's traveling to another country, learning a language, or even just trying a new hobby. We often say, "I'll do it later," but later has a way of disappearing. Research shows that experiences bring more lasting happiness than material possessions. The memories of a trip, a concert, or even a spontaneous adventure often stay with us for a lifetime. Yet, so many people let fear, money, worries, or the pressure of responsibilities keep them locked in routines that leave little room for joy. Here's the thing, experiencing more doesn't have to mean climbing Mount Everest or spending thousands on luxury travel. It can be as simple as exploring a nearby town, taking a cooking class, or saying yes to something that excites you but scares you a little. Each new experience expands who you are and gives you stories to carry, not regrets. So I want to ask you, what experience have you been putting off? What's that one thing you've always dreamed of doing, but never made time for? Because one day time will run out. And when it does, you'll want a heart full of memories, not empty space where those experiences should have been. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Life itself is the moment. Say yes, step out, and live in a way that leaves no room for regret. The 10th and final regret that people often confess on their deathbed is this: not living in the present moment. Too many people spend their lives caught between the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. They replay mistakes they can't change, or they worry endlessly about what hasn't even happened yet. And in doing so, they miss the only thing that truly belongs to them this very moment. Hospice workers often hear patients say, "I wish I had slowed down and enjoyed life as it was happening." They regret that while life was unfolding right in front of them, the laughter of a child, the beauty of a sunrise, the comfort of a meal shared, they were distracted, stressed, or simply too busy to notice. Psychologists call this time blindness. We get so wrapped up in yesterday and tomorrow that today slips right through our fingers. And at the end of life, people often realize they were always on their way somewhere, but rarely fully there. Think about it. How often do you find yourself scrolling on your phone while your family talks to you, or racing through your to-do list while missing the joy in simple things? How often do you tell yourself, "I'll relax once I get through this week," only to realize the weeks never stop coming? Living in the present isn't about ignoring responsibilities or pretending the future doesn't matter. It's about choosing presence, being fully awake to what's happening right now. It's about enjoying your morning coffee instead of gulping it down on autopilot. It's about noticing the small kindness in a conversation or pausing to breathe and smile, even in the middle of chaos. The truth is, the present moment is all we ever really have. And those who reach the end of life often regret not recognizing that sooner. So let me ask you, what would change if you chose to live more in the moment starting today? What joy is waiting for you right now that you've been overlooking? Because at the end of your journey, you won't wish you had worried more or rushed faster. You'll wish you had slowed down enough to truly live. So now we've walked through the 10 most common regrets people confess on their deathbed. And here's the truth I want to leave you with. These regrets are not destiny. They are warnings. They are gifts from those who came before us, showing us what really matters while we still have time to change. You see, regret is heavy, but awareness is powerful. If you recognize yourself in even one of these regrets, that's not a reason to feel ashamed, it's a reason to feel grateful. Because awareness means you can choose differently starting today. Ask yourself honestly, when you look back on your life one day, do you want to smile with peace or cry with regret? The answer to that question is being written right now in the choices you make every single day. Maybe it's choosing to call a friend you've lost touch with. Maybe it's saying "I love you" to someone you've kept silent around for too long. Maybe it's booking that trip you've been putting off for years. Or maybe it's simply slowing down to enjoy the cup of coffee in your hand, the laughter in your home, or the sunrise outside your window. These small shifts add up to a life without regret. A life where when your final chapter comes, you can rest knowing you truly lived. Now I want to hear from you. Out of these 10 regrets, which one hit you the hardest? Which one made you stop and think, that's me, I need to change that? Share your answer in the comments because you might inspire someone else who needs to hear it. And if you found this video meaningful, don't leave without subscribing. Our channel is here to remind you of life's deepest truths and to help you live more intentionally so you never have to say, I wish I had. Remember this, your story isn't over yet. You have time. You have choice. You can live differently today.